Hey everyone, thank you so much for clicking on this Netflix review. The fact that you are willing to sacrifice a few minutes out of your day to consume my content really does mean the world to me. Yes, and I'm actually borrowing my wife's set for today, yes, because we're busy moving houses, and so everything where I normally film my YouTube videos is just an absolute mess right now. So I've kind of just jumped into her set. I don't think I've made it necessarily look as good as she normally does, but I hope that this works for this video. Today we're going to be talking about Agent Elvis, which is the new animated spoof series that chronicles the fictional life of Elvis Presley. Now I talk about fiction because obviously this is not a realistic retelling of the life of the megastar. I think that Elvis, starring Austin Butler, is a much more appropriate example of an actual realistic biography, but this is an animated series basically chronicling his journey from superstar to super secret agent, and it is quite a bit of fun. This is definitely a series that tackles the wackier side of the mythos of Elvis Presley, starring Matthew McConaughey as Elvis himself, but also borrowing the voices of Johnny Knoxville and Don Cheadle. This is a really impressive cast, and the voice acting across the board is great. It's also backed up by great visuals and the occasional rather funny joke. Not every joke does land, but across the board this is rather funny. So let's break down the pros and the cons of this series and whether you should watch it. So yes, as I said, that this is an animated series which is taking a bit of a peek behind the curtain, looking behind the scenes to see what it would be like if we did live in a world where Elvis Presley was a secret agent. And while the concept itself really was weird, I found myself enjoying it quite a bit. The show will definitely appeal more to Elvis fans, I think, than those who have no idea who the character is. There are a lot of inside jokes. And something that I was quite impressed by, and I for some reason didn't assume they would do, is they included a lot of Elvis songs within the series itself, such as Viva Las Vegas. Not only did it include songs by Elvis Presley, there were also a few David Bowie songs in there. So honestly, if you're just a fan of music from that era, then you're also just going to have a good time watching the show. But it was very weird and strange to see that the show was primarily made and targeted towards Elvis fans, but then at the same time it also definitely has a lot of jokes that would obviously appeal more to a younger audience. Now, I'm not saying younger audiences don't in fact enjoy Elvis. It's just that obviously Elvis is more well known by the older audience. And I don't think a lot of the more crass humor is going to translate well to that demographic. So it was a little bit strange that they decided to make a show for an older demographic, but then a lot of its comedy and a lot of its moments of entertainment seem like they were almost directly made to appeal to a completely different demographic or age. In regards to the animation, it is incredibly stylized. This is Sony animation, and I think it's entirely up to the viewer if they're going to enjoy this animation style or not. While I can admit that the animation is smooth and it is rather attractive, I did not necessarily enjoy the style of the animation. Sometimes the thick outlines of the characters of this 2D animation really just didn't work for me. But for this type of show, for this comedy that they were going for within the show, I do have to say that the style of the animation really did complement that. Especially when it came to the action sequences, this was really large. This was larger than life, and they made sure that they could really reflect the outlandish elements of the show through the animation. Again, we mentioned the music, and I do just have to say, you know, if you're an Elvis fan, you'll enjoy it. If you're not an Elvis fan, then I think you're also watching the completely wrong show. But as I said, they borrowed a lot of, you know, real life Elvis soundtracks. And so if you do enjoy the music, you're going to enjoy a lot more of the show because you have that backing everything up. And then finally, for me, probably the largest negative of the show is the fact that the show feels very removed from consequences. What I mean by that is, like, there's very seldomly consequences to the actions of characters. There's really not a deep feeling of dread or suspense. At the end of the day, you know everything's going to be okay. And also the way the show is written, it's never really written to necessarily raise tension so that you can really feel worried about the characters or the journeys they're going on. You pretty much know by the end of the day everything's going to be alright. This is a feel-good comedy show. And talking about the comedy, it didn't necessarily always land. For me, we're in the situation now where crass comedy in animation it just feels like it's become the lazy go-to. Ever since Family Guy, people have been trying to push the envelope in consideration to, cool, how far can we go in regards to pushing the envelope? Surely things are just gross or gory are automatically going to translate into comedy because it's in animation. And so sometimes the comedy did feel a little bit lazy to me, but there were definitely moments that stood out. So yes guys, that's my review of Agent Elvis. I'd love to know your thoughts of the show. If you can just comment down below, I'd really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like and do not be afraid to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you guys again in another video.